Welcome everybody to another video. This one is going to be a first in a series of technical analysis. I will be going over a description of different patterns and I will be explaining different indicators. So it's going to be a full series with each episode, different patterns or different indicators, different styles of trading. And I will basically be going over everybody you need to get started with trading. But also if you are an experienced trader, I'm sure there's some value in there for you as well. So yeah, this is the first episode. We're going to be talking about 4 different patterns. The reasons I did them in the same video is because there's quite a similarity in it. So the first type of patterns are going to be the rising and falling wedges. And the second pattern is going to be the bull flags and the bear flags. So for this video, I changed some of my audio settings, so it should be a bit better than in the previous ones. And we can start from there. So first I will be showing you and explaining a little bit basic information about the patterns. And after that, we're going to be moving on to the actual charts because that's the most important thing. You need to be starting to recognize these patterns yourself. So I will be showing these patterns on the chart and then you can practice by drawing these patterns yourself and get a better recognition of them. Once you do this for a while, you will start to see these patterns on the chart without even, before even drawing them. And this way, you will be recognizing very quickly if the likelihood of the chart going bearish or bullish. All right, let's start with the first pattern. I wrote down some basic information about the rising wedge, and you also see the pattern here on the right, on the top right. So what is it? It's a chart pattern formed by 2 converging trend lines sloping upward, indicating a potential reversal or continuation. What are the characteristics? The price movement. As you can see on the image, you see higher highs here, one high, one higher high, another higher high, and also you see higher lows. So this is important to take note, and this is what eventually creates this upward sloping line. And on the top part, this sloping line upwards. So that's important to keep an eye on. What about the volume? Well, it's very typical to see the volume decreases at the pattern forms because it's the start of the pattern is always a bullish pattern, of course. You have it upwards going, and at the beginning there's a lot of strong volume, but the volume tends to go down. So this is another signal that there could be a reversal incoming. Then the implications. As spoken about, it's often a bearish reversal pattern. With the rising wedge, it happens very much. And so it's very good to keep an eye on if your favorite token is in this rising wedge. You want to be keeping a close eye if it's breaking down. In a downtrend, it may act as a pause before further decline. Look for a confirmed breakout below the trend line with increased volume for bearish trades. So I'm going to be showing you the actual setups when I take on the charts, and you can see this in practice what this means, but this is just a basic explanation of what a rising wedge means. Then, of course, we have the opposite, again, a falling wedge, and a falling wedge often is a bullish reversal pattern. So this one is a good to keep an eye on, to be actually on the lookout for buying. Okay, I'll be going over the definition. It's a chart pattern with 2 converging trend lines sloping downward, suggesting a potential reversal or continuation. Price movement. Lower highs and lower lows with a narrowing range towards the apex. You see this here again. In the rising wedge, we had higher highs, but here we have lower highs. And also lower lows. And you see this is getting to the apex, The apex means the end of the range. So this here it's breaking out a little bit earlier, but yeah, the closer it gets, the more you get towards the apex, and eventually there has to be a decision. That's the meaning of this pattern. There has to be a decision of this point, and either upwards or downwards. And with falling wedges, most of the time the decision is upwards. Also here, generally the volume declines and will increase after there's a confirmed breakout. So keep an eye on the volume in regards to that. There's a lot of people who actually capitulate while it's a bullish pattern. They see the chart going down. They don't see the pattern in here, and there's bearish news often, and they usually sell at the lows. So that's what happens very often. So you want to be recognizing this as a bullish pattern and not bearish just because the price is going down. Then continuation in an uptrend may indicate a brief consolidation before a further rise. Wait for a breakout above the upper trend line with strong volume to confirm bullish trades. All right, this is also what I'm going to be showing you towards setups. And now we're going to be moving on to the bull and bear flags. First of all, the bear flag. This is a bearish continuation pattern formed after a sharp price downtrend resembling a flag on a pole. So when is it called a bear flag? Usually there has to be first a sharp decline. So you really want to be in a downtrend for it be able to calling it a bear flag. Otherwise, it's more, the name could be the same pattern, but then it's more an upward channel. So important to keep an eye on this. So the characteristics. There's a steep downward price drop, strong bearish momentum. So that's the start. And then we have a consolidation pattern. We have a parallel channel, usually, or sideways trend lines. And you want to spot higher highs again and lows. So you see it here on the chart, higher highs, higher low, higher high, higher low, and higher high. And then you see the downward breakdown, which spells often disaster. Also, we'll be showing you this live on the chart on Bitcoin and altcoins, so you'll be able to see this in action. Implications. It indicates a pause in the downtrend with price likely to continue falling after breaking down the lower trend line. Anti-bearish trades on breakdown below the flag lower trend line with rising volume. So you see here the breakdown, and you likely see an increase in volume, and that could be an opportunity to short or sell your assets. All right, then we go to the bull flag. Basically the opposite again of the bear flag. It's a bullish continuation pattern formed after a strong price uptrend resembling a flag on a pole. Characteristics again, first you have the pole, so you want to be in a strong uptrend, and then you get a consolidation, you get a high, and then you get a low, then you get a lower high, lower low, lower high, and then you get this last dump here, and then you get a breakout over here, and usually it's a strong continuation pattern. It means you likely see a lot of upside once it breaks out. Again, there are other patterns that look the same, but if it's not it doesn't have a flagpole, so if it's not in a bullish trend, it's usually just named a parallel channel, or it could be a triangle that's forming. So that's very typical of a bull flag, that there has to be a flagpole and a strong bullish, pattern before the bull flag starts. All right, that was the basic explanation. Now let's move on to the charts. This is going to be the most helpful, because then you actually will be able to recognize these patterns live. So I'll be starting with Bitcoin over here, starting on the high time frame, and we're going also over some lower time frames. So first of all, you will see here a huge rising wedge, basically on a multiple year time frame. And I have the chart here on the weekly. And like I said, usually it's actually a bearish pattern. That doesn't mean I'm actually bearish in this scenario. It does mean that you have to pay close attention to this, and you want to be keeping an eye on this pattern. So where would we actually be going bearish? Well, simply follow the trend line here. It's a clear trend line. We're quite above from this yet, so I would not make any decisions here. And this is a very strong resistance now. So it's a multi-year resistance from the highs of last bull run all the way here to 2024. We tested it beginning of 25, and now we have been testing it again. So upwards breakout here will actually be very bullish, and that's going to be a very strong uptrend. It means you're breaking this rising wedge and this yearly resistance level. So that would be the best scenario, of course. All right, so this is it for the Bitcoin on the higher time frame. So keep a close eye on both the breakout to the upside and of course to the downside. You don't want to be caught off guard there. It could be actually start to a bear market if we start breaking down here. Also, another important thing to keep notice on, the longer time frame these patterns are, often the stronger the continuation is. So either to the downside or the upside. So this is a multi-year one, so this will likely have a stronger effect. So it's very important to keep an eye on how long is the pattern ongoing, and what is the price movement as well in this pattern. So that is something that's very important. All right, let me move on to the lower time frame. You see a lot of lines here. I'm going to be zooming in. I just want to be showing you some examples of these, all these patterns that were in the sheet, so you have a further idea of how to actually play this. So I started here in 21. Of course, could go a lot further, but yeah, we have to keep some kind of time frame here. This will be enough to showcase you. So let's move on to the daily time frame and start in 2021. Well, here first you have the rising wedge. It's a very clear one. You see here the higher highs, and you see here the higher lows. So this is a very good example of an actual rising wedge. And you see also the effect at once we actually broke down. So here we had the breakdown. You have a big drop already. And then what almost always happens is it gets some sort of a retest. Either it gets very close or it will actually touch. And in a lot of scenarios, this will be a good time to actually sell because this often further means further downside. It retested it, but it has not the strength anymore. And it means the whole trend has changed. So this was a long pattern and we broke down here, and this would be a good opportunity to sell. We had some reclaiming here. Looked like there was some strength left, but this is when we actually had the big drop in 21. So yeah, this is good to note that this is when the had this big drop towards 30k. Then we had a strong reversal pattern, and we had a rising wedge again. You see it here clearly, the higher highs, and you see the upward sloping trend line. And again, we had a breakdown. We had a big breakdown, a reclaiming, but still we went down a bit. Also, I did not draw it here, but I can draw it here as well. You just notice these patterns on the chart before you draw them. You see it here. Yeah, this is a very big one. It's a very clear one again. It's a falling wedge, so it's a bullish pattern. You see a lot of touch points here. It's a very strong trend line. I'm not taking these wicks. I take here the candle bodies. This is yeah, much stronger trend line. You see a lot more touches here, and you see it on the upside here. But this was the last one. Here you had the breakout, and where would your buying point be then? Well, that's also very clear on this pattern. Here you had the breakout, 230K, and then we here had the retest again. So you could buy on the breakout because it's such a strong reversal, but there was also a clear retest here, and you see what happened there. We had to push all the way to 42K. This was in the time I remember when Elon got bullish again. He got on an interview, and that was the start of the rally. And here is when he, I think Tesla sold their holdings, and there was a lot of FUD with Chinese miners. So yeah, that was a little bit about the happenings behind it. But you can already see how powerful some of these patterns are, and you don't want to be ignoring them. All right, moving on. Another pattern. This time not a wedge, but this is clearly a bear flag forming. You see the lower. You see the low here. You see the high, higher low, lower high, higher low, lower high, and then you see the breakdown here. What's typical of these bear flags? I already spoke about it during the brief presentation. It's likely you first have a strong drop before that. So you take a you call it a flagpole, and you can actually draw it like this. So this is the size of this is also the size of the what likely the drop to the next downwards movement is. So you can take this line, and often this area means how how big the drop is going to be. So that's also typical, something you want to keep noticing. As I said, the stronger the downtrend before that, and the longer the pattern, often the harder the drop it is. And here again, you had time to sell. You had a breakdown here. Here we had a clear breakdown. Then we had a clear retest. We had a rejection. Then you see this red candle. And yeah, anytime here basically was time to get out. You still had some time here. And then it's when we got the actual drop. So yeah, if you're caught in this, it's almost 50% basically what's getting off there. You don't want to be caught in those. Again, then we had sort of a bear flag pattern again, upward sloping, and then here we basically had no time to get out. There was no simple retest. It was just a big dump. This was during the whole Luna and FTX situation, and this was the bear market. Actually, the lows of the bear market here. We still had this is somewhat of a mix of a bear flag and a rising wedge, but you clearly see it's an upward trend here. It's losing strength, and you get below it, and then we still had some more downwards movement. And you see it here again, same pattern, very clearly. Okay, so this was the whole bearish movement basically since the bear market, the 2021 top we had here, and then we had you can clearly see it. We had 4 of these patterns. So that's why I'm saying these are very important to recognize, and you want to be able to spot these on the chart to not be able to off guard. Then we also had an uptrend again because this was the bottom of the bear when there was Maxfit, FTX, a lot of companies were going broke. But we also had an uptrend. That means we're seeing some more of these falling wedges again and bull flags. Here we have a clear falling wedge. We have a strong breakout. And now we have another type of bull flag forming here. Again, in bull markets, these breakouts usually lead to very strong uptrends. And you see here, you had the time to buy breakout actually. You had a strong breakout to 29K, went all the way back to 28K. And then is what you see here. This is basically, very strong bull run. We had these ETFs coming, and we had BlackRock buying. And it took a while before we started to consolidate. Here we have this very large pattern. It's from 2024. It's quite recent. And in these patterns, we also had a falling wedge, as you can see here. And this one led to the upside, but it wasn't that strong. We were forming this major bull flag. So that was the main pattern. Here you see this rising wedge again. So for the short time frame, this was a good period to be cautious because we went all the way here, liquidating to 94k, and then we closed in the bull flag again. So as I said before, the longer the pattern, often the stronger the upward move. And again, this happened here again. We finally saw the breakout here. And we also had a very good retest. We had a very clear retest. And once it got retested, it got bought up again quickly. So this was your time to get in. This was around, of course, just before the elections. Here we had the election pump. So this was, you got very good opportunity to get in. And this, of course, we had the election FOMO. Trump won, while a lot of people were not expecting this. We had a strong upward movement again, and then you see here again. Very clear, guys. You see this falling wedge, you see the breakout, and we got a strong upward move again. And you see this sort of rising wedge again, falling and starting to lose strength here, and it's breaking down again. So yeah, I wanted to go over the history of Bitcoin basically for a few years. So you actually see these patterns in action and see how powerful they are on the chart. There's thousands of different patterns in trading, but after in my experience, these are really some of the most important. They're simple patterns. They're often easy to spot, but it takes a while to get to notice them. So yeah, take your chart and start drawing these patterns yourself. It's very important to not just watch videos, but start drawing them yourself. All right, I will be going over a few more charts. I will keeping it a little bit shorter. I wanted to show you the main analysis on Bitcoin here, because now you have a very good idea of how these patterns works. But I will show you them also on a couple of altcoins and on the altcoin total cap. So let's move on to Solana. I've been also did some drawings here to prepare this video, and you see it here. It's a strong, we have a bear flag here. We have a strong upwards move. You see this was quite a move. So you have, similar move upwards again. Then we have some consolidation and we have a continuation. And again, you don't want to be betting against the trend. Once you see this consolidation, you see these patterns forming, usually you go upwards again. All right, so this was this was a crazy push. Actually, if you look back at the chart, we went all the way back from $1 all the way up to 260. So it's a 260x. That's some crazy returns here for Solana. This was the winner of the 2021 bull run. And of course, what goes up also must come down at some point. So that's what happens. Here we had a pattern, bear flag starting to form, starting to lose some strength. And this was a good sign actually, because you saw these patterns here. These were all continuation patterns, and now you see a difference here. You're actually starting to see a bear flag being formed, an upward channel, and they usually break down. So again, we broke down, did the clear retest, and this was your sign to get out of the bull run in case you did not sell yet. So there was plenty of time, but eventually we got a big drop and we went down. Again, you see a large falling wedge forming, so we still had some nice movement here. Then it was basically over for the bull run. You see a rising wedge and a breakdown again. So yeah, these patterns are very clear, and they often will tell you what's going on. Well, I don't have to explain here what's happening. You see it here again. You see bullish continuation patterns, bear flag starting to form here as well. And you see a very strong uptrend again, consolidation and continuation of the uptrend. Here again, you see a downward wedge and here an upward wedge. So it's very simple, these patterns. Oftentimes, a lot of people complicate it, but it doesn't have to be that complicated. All right, so that's it for Solana. Then I did the same on Total Tree for this bull run. Yeah, we see some very strong uptrend. We're still in an uptrend, regardless of what everybody says that we're in a bear market for alts. We're still in in a decent uptrend. You see it here, also the same consolidation patterns and continuation. Bear flag here, continuation, and then a very large consolidation period. The larger it gets, the stronger the move. And there we had the whole election move. So this was the total cap for alts, and this is when we had the alt season, basically. Then again, we had a long period of downwards consolidation, and we had a clear breakout. And now we see the same thing forming, but then on a lower time frame. So the trend is upwards. This is a bullish consolidation pattern. So I would not bet against the trend. There's a good likelihood to actually break out from here and retest these highs again. So that's what I want to see. We have strong support here, and we have an upward trend support. So that's what we've been holding so far. So that all looks good. All right, the three last altcoins, and that would be it for the video. Let's move on to AVAX. I'm not going over every pattern. I think the point is getting clear now. You can see it here. I draw it in since the start in 2020, since AVAX got the Binance listing. You see a bear flag, and you see here again these patterns. A rising wedge, breakdown, falling wedge, breakout, rising wedge, breakdown, on and on and on. So over a long time frame, you can clearly see that these patterns work. And like I said, there's thousands of these patterns, but these are the ones that are actually most important in my opinion. The bull, the bear flags, and the wedges. Okay, so that's it for AVAX. Then let's move on to Fetch AI. We had a very strong rising wedge, as you can see. Since 2020, we have this upward trend, but here we have this green line. I made this green so you can see it's a rising wedge. And here we had the breakdown, and it was also quite a big breakdown. We went all the way from 130 to 30 cents. So when you zoom out on a chart like that, it doesn't look too big, but it's actually a huge drop. But it was also a huge pattern. So I've been drawing this pattern before it actually broke down. So it's very important if you're in these coins to identify these patterns before it actually happens. Because you want to be protecting your money in case such a scenario happens. All right, and then we see on the even larger time frame, we have some kind of rising wedge forming. If we pull this through and pull this one through, you can see there's this is an even longer pattern. Doesn't mean that we're actually going to go there, but it's still we're still in a long-term uptrend for Fetch. I think it's one of the ones that's going to be doing very well. Actually, AI will only grow, and this is yeah, a merge between three of the biggest AI projects. So it's definitely one that I've been holding. I've been holding it spot, and I'm planning to hold it for quite a while. Then I had the last one, huge rising wedge on Sui. I just wanted to show you this, how big this rising wedge was. Actually, here we went all the way from 40 cents all the way to $5. And then we had this breakdown, and you had plenty of time to get out here as well. You can see it started to touch it again. It started touching it multiple times, but it did not possess the strength anymore. And went all the way to a downtrend again to 170. So these are big percentages. It's very important to protect your portfolio. If you see these rising wedges, you really want to be careful. It's it almost always goes like this. It's very rare that you see a situation where we break down of a wedge like this and that we just continue an uptrend trend like this. It's very rare actually, and often when it happens, people spot it but they don't act on it. Um, it's usually the period when we're getting up there, when there's bullish news, people are, yeah, thinking the sky is the limit, but they fail to miss to recognize these simple patterns. And of course, it's the same thing on the downside. We're going down here again. People are starting to get bearish on Sui. Now it's not so fantastic anymore, and you see the break out here, and then the sentiment starts to change. All right, so that's it for today's video. I hope this gives a clear explanation of what these patterns are, but most importantly, to actually see them on the chart, actually see them in action and see that they work. Because, yeah, you need to use them in action if you want to make money in this market. So I would say, yeah, start drawing these patterns yourself. It's one thing to recognize them on a video, but it's another thing to actually start drawing them on your favorite altcoins. On the start on Bitcoin, do it on bigger altcoins, but it works everywhere basically. Okay, that's it for today. This is the first video in the series of technical analysis. I'll be making several videos. We're going over indicators as well. Indicators that I'm using, indicators that I'm still learning about. Yeah, there will be plenty of more material to go on there. We'll also be going over market updates. So we'll be giving you my view on the market. We'll be doing that probably weekly. And then I have project reviews coming as well. So we'll be doing full reviews on altcoins and giving my analysis to if something is actually worth buying or not. All right, that's it. Have a good one. If you liked it, give a like, a comment, and make sure to subscribe to the channel. And see you in the next one.